welcome back to Ancestors and Alcohol. So today I have another ancestry video for you, and it's going to be about my maternal great grandfather John. Everything I learned about him mainly came from my grandmother, which is his daughter. I didn't really find anything about him in the census records, so I had to ask questions and go back in the interviews and go through everything and pull together a story about him. So here's a little bit about my great grandfather John. So my great-grandfather was born on August 4th, 1903 in Lenoir County, North Carolina, which is in Kinston, North Carolina. So Kinston is about 2 hours driving distance to Fayetteville, to just give you kind of an idea of where Kinston is, just in case you don't know. And my great-grandfather was the oldest of 5 children, and according to the 1910 census, he was still living in Lenoir County, and he was 6 years old, living with his mother and father. So his mother died when he was about 10 years old, and nobody really knows what happened to his dad. There's speculation that his dad went to go live still in Kinston, but with another family, and just kind of left his kids. My grandmother told me that my great-grandfather never really talked about his dad. She didn't really know anything about that side of the family. But my great-grandfather went to go live with his Uncle Bill, and there he worked on the farm with the rest of his siblings. So they basically just worked for their uncle. And basically my great-grandfather is missing from the 1910 census all the way until 1932. And I have his marriage certificate when he married my great-grandmother. But other than that, I have no idea what this man was doing in between them. But I did get some stories from my grandmother. Basically, when my great-grandfather was growing up in North Carolina, he was a laborer working with people, building houses, and he worked in the fields, of course, for his Uncle Bill. Then he moved to Philadelphia. We're not really sure what year he moved to Philadelphia, but we think it's around 1926. He also had a child in 1931 in Philadelphia, so we know he was definitely there around that time. He then married my great-grandmother in 1932, and then they had 5 kids together. If you didn't watch my other video about my great-grandmother Drew Upton, I tell the story of how they met, but let me give you a little refresher. So basically, my great-grandfather would go into this restaurant where my great-grandmother worked at, and he basically was trying to sweep this lady off her feet, and she did not want to have anything to do with him. But eventually, I guess she just softened up, and they got married, and like I said, they had 5 kids together. After my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather split, he also had 2 more kids. So when my great-grandfather was living in Philadelphia, he worked at this restaurant called Shoyer's. And Shoyer's was a super exclusive restaurant in Philadelphia. I guess all the movers and shakers went there. And he was a cook and a waiter, and he worked there for 40 years. When he retired when he was 65, he decided that he needed some other things to do. So he learned how to fix cars, so he would fix people's cars, and he also grew vegetables and fruit in his house in Glassboro, New Jersey. And what he would do is he would grow the fruits and vegetables, he would freeze what he had, give to his family, and whatever he had left over, he would drive back to Philly from Glassboro, New Jersey, and he would sell all the fresh fruits and vegetables to the black people. And about 1948, I know I just mentioned the house in Glassboro. In 1948, my great-grandfather built a house in Glassboro, New Jersey, and he moved all his family there, and that's basically where they lived until it burned down, unfortunately. Luckily, he still had his house in Philadelphia, so when the house burned down, he just moved everybody back to Philadelphia. And unfortunately, my grandfather did pass away in 1985 in Philadelphia. So that's a little bit about my great-grandfather John and his life. And once again, sometimes it really pays off to ask people questions and get the stories from them, because you cannot find people in the census. my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother on my maternal side, like, they were super hard to find in the census. So luckily I had my grandmother to kind of fill in the blanks for me and let me know so that I can kind of build up a story about who my great-grandfather was. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you follow my Facebook, Instagram, which is Ancestors and Alcohol. And make sure you keep watching and following my ancestry journey. Goodbye, beautiful Black people.